All right. All glories to Mother Atasha. All glories to the religion of love. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to our Supreme Lord. O Lord God, please help us about these teachings, be an example of love in the world. Jai. Today we're hearing again from the Srimad-Bhagavatam. And there's two verses I'd like to go over today. I think they tie in nicely. This is the first one. This is Canto 1, Chapter 9, verse 23. And this is spoken by Bhishma, Grandfather Bhishma, right after the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Bhaktyavesya mano yasmin vachayanam kirtayan tyajan kalevarang yogi muchyate kamma karmabhihi. The personality of Godhead, who appears in the mind of the devotee by attentive devotion and meditation, and by chanting of the holy name, releases the devotee from the bondage of fruitive activities at the time of his quitting the material body. Jai. Okay. So, saying that at the time of leaving this body, remember, we're not these bodies. We're eternal spirit soul. These material bodies is just our temporary covering while we're in this world. Just as our mind and our present conditioned consciousness is the temporary covering of our real eternal consciousness, which is of eternal bliss, knowledge, and love. But we don't experience that. Rather, we're caught in the bondage of fruitive activities, as it says here. All of our actions, all of our desires for this world, they bring forth reactions, cause and effect, one after another, like a snowball effect. And we get so entrenched in a web of so many reactions to so many actions that we're caught up in this samsara of birth and death, since time immemorial. And we suffer in this world. Purpose of life is spiritual realization, which is also the cure for all of our suffering in this world. But we need help. In humility, we come to understand that this material nature, the illusory energy of this world, is too overwhelming. It's too powerful. And despite our desires and our efforts, we can't break free. And we need help. Can't do it on our own. And we get that help in the form of the Lord's devotees and His scriptures. And in some rare cases, the Lord Himself, which is quite wonderful. So what the Lord does, says here, is that He frees or releases the devotee from all his bondage, all of the ties that keep him bound to this world. At the time of quitting the body, so that he doesn't have to take birth into another body, but can go home and be with Him for all eternity. And all the wonderful bliss and joy of the spiritual world, sure. And it's for whom does the Lord does this for? It's for those devotees whose minds are completely attentive in devotion by meditating on the Lord and chanting His holy names. And it's not just the Lord. In fact, this is actually what initiation with a spiritual master does. We actually get freed from our material reactions when we take initiation. That is the mystical and very special thing that happens when one gets the blessed opportunity to take shelter under a pure devotee of the Lord and take initiation from them. Sorry if there's a bunch of background noise. It wasn't there when I set up. Story of my life when I go to the park to do class, right? So when the spiritual master initiates a disciple, they take on all of the karmic reactions of that disciple. Basically meaning that everything that was going to come to that disciple, all the reactions, good or bad, all their karma, is cleared away, and they're left with a clean slate. And after initiation, it's not your one's karma that determines what happens to them in life. The good things, the bad things, the ups and downs, the this or that. Instead, they are directly placed before them by the Lord as stepping stones to bring the devotee closer to him, to lead him back home. When Jesus taught 2 births a man may have, one of the flesh and one of the spirit, this is what he meant by the second birth. That's the initiation with the real spiritual master. And you're born anew because now your slate is clean. Your karmic reactions have been transmuted by the bona fide representative of God, the spiritual master. And then you're given instructions, knowledge, disciplines, practices, vows to adhere to that keep you on the path and now steadily purifying your consciousness of that covering. The illusion, the ignorance that keeps us from experiencing our natural state of eternal bliss and knowledge, our natural state of love. But just like when you turn off the switch for a ceiling fan, even though the current is cut, still the fan's going to be spinning for some time. So even though the spiritual master, upon initiation of a disciple, takes on all their karmic reactions, the propensity for fruitive activities, the material desires and actions that we perform, they don't just, stop with the snap of a finger. We still have those propensities. We still have those desires, although, of course, the desire for God being greater than all those things, but still all those little things, they still are with us, and we still have them. And it's fine. It's okay. Gradually, all those things that are a hindrance or a bondage to this world, they get, they fall off the wayside if you stay on the path. But in the meantime, we might still accrue more karmic reactions, actually, if we act in the consciousness to enjoy the fruits of our labor, if we act for our own pleasure, for our own sense enjoyment, we're going to produce more reactions in this world that we are bound to experience, to enjoy or to suffer, really. But by practicing devotional service, hearing, chanting, remembering, these are gradually cleared away. And these karmic reactions that we accumulate after initiation are pretty much put in check or balanced out or cancelled out one another by the chanting we do. So that's why we're recommended to chant a certain amount every day, at least 2 hours a day, minimum, just to keep at bay any new karmic reactions that we're accruing, keeping us, more tied to this material world, and also to cleanse away the layers of illusion and ignorance that are already, weighing us down. And if we live right, then at the time of death, God promises to mitigate all of that so you can go home, even if you're not fully purified. That's the great mercy of the Lord. Even if you still didn't cleanse all of the impurities of your mind, of your heart, you still have some attachments, still have some worldly desires, the Lord promises that He will carry what we lack. I like to think, you try to get on the bus, but you don't have enough change, and the driver says, it's all right. Just hop on. Which is very, very nice. If we do our best, God takes care of the rest. But you got to do the work. You got to put some effort into it. That's for sure. So devotees, knowing full well that everything comes to them by the mercy of the Lord, they develop an attitude of gratitude. That's very important. All the things that we're able to do, all of our good ideas, even our practice of chanting, all the things that are helping us on the path, these are all a gift from God. The fact that we've been coming to the spiritual after eons, lifetimes, caught up in illusion, it's all by God's grace. It's not that I'm chanting my way into paradise. No, it's all by God's mercy. He's allowing all of it. And for one who does take to the path made straight, the path by which we come again to God, and we leave spiritual life to try to enjoy in the material once again, thinking these things greater than the eternal spiritual, which, you got to have some faith in the beginning, because we don't immediately experience the ultimate reality. We don't, we're not self-realized from the get-go and experience peace and happiness from within in our heart, melting in ecstasy and love of God on day one. No, you got to have a little faith in the process. You have to do the work to get that experience. But in the beginning, you don't have that. And you have to work on yourself. It's somewhat of a duty. It's a chore, at least my experience in the beginning. But you got to stick with it. But for those who don't have the patience, they feel like they're not enjoying, they go back to material life, then the result is horrible, actually. Mother Natasha said, by that time you know too much already. So then you kind of get stuck. You won't belong in the material nor the spiritual. This world is pretty cruel. I've seen it happen a number of times. People come and go. I've never seen those who've gone turn out quite happy. But I've seen those who stayed on the path be very joyful, very peaceful, very loving. Every soul, every single soul and every single body in their eternal position is a devotee. We're all devotees of the Lord. Like I said, we don't experience because we're covered by the material. So, in a sense, yes, we are all eternally devotees. But at present, we're training to be again devotees. Get back to our original state of being. And we can do this. We all can do this. Because our reality, our true nature is this. It's possible. But there'll be a lot of hindrances, a lot of obstacles, a lot of things that want to keep you away from this. Your parents will get upset with you when you don't want to marry the rich person, or you don't get the big degree or the high job in the corporate world. They think you're crazy to give those things up. But we're not crazy or foolish, but are intelligent, because we are really getting so much more. Anything and everything that you hope to gain in this world will all be lost. It's like building a sand castle on the beach with its towers, its domes, its archways. It's a beautiful sand castle. But then time comes by, the tide comes in, and all is lost. That is our so-called achievements in this world. Everything will ultimately be lost. Whereas work that we do in our spiritual life, work that we do to come again to our natural state, to be again devotees, that is never lost. And you cannot put a price on eternal bliss, knowledge, and love. And don't wait for the quitting of your material body. Don't wait till death. No. Do it now. Be self-realized now. Come to love of God now, and then be a shining example for all others, and help others also become free and come home to love. And there's another verse of the Bhagavatam that Mother Atasha spoke from, and I want to tie it into this class. And this is from Canto 1, Chapter 13, verse 10. Bhavadvidha bhagavata sthita bhutaha swayang vibho tirti kurvanti tirthani svantaha sthenna gadhabrita. My Lord, devotees like your good self are verily holy places personified, because you carry the personality of Godhead within your heart. You turn all places into places of pilgrimage. Jai. So, regarding the special quality of the pure devotee, the spiritual master, who, by God's grace, is able to transmute all the karmic reactions of their initiated disciples, are able to impart pure, true knowledge to help us rid ourselves of illusion. These wonderful devotees, they're very, very, very special, and not like ordinary persons.
Very cool.
Hi. And this verse is spoken by Dhritarashtra to his brother Vidura, who was a pure devotee. And he says, people like you are holy places personified. Why? Because their heart is so pure, they carry the Lord with them wherever they go. And wherever they go turns a place into a place of pilgrimage. Mother Atasha said that anywhere the devotee is a place of pilgrimage. It is a person devotee, not a building, that makes a place holy. So the spiritual master keeps you engaged in devotional service according to your tastes and skills to keep your mind on God. The spiritual masters are not ordinary persons. They are ever engaged 100% in the Lord's transcendental devotional service. Everything they do and are is to share and help others come to love. And they know how to engage you. This is the true benefit of visiting a holy place. We don't just go to a holy place, pilgrimage, just to take a bath, or see a building or visit some grave, take a picture. The real benefit of going to a holy place is to seek out and find these great devotees of the Lord and hear from them, receive knowledge from them that can help us in our life. And verily it is because of these persons that makes a place holy. Think of every holy place that you can think of. Every holy place of pilgrimage. And you can trace out the history of some great saints, prophets, masters that were there and gave knowledge or did some holy activities. They are what make a place holy. And Mother Tasha instructed us disciples, followers of the religion of love, that in this age we're not meant to just sit in a building, but to go out to the people and deliver this message. At the time we had a bus that me and some godbrothers renovated, and we were living in that and traveling all throughout Central America, distributing books, doing charity children programs. Mother Tasha loved this. She said, God gave us a bus, not a house. So we can always go out amongst the people. She said, like a pizzeria, we deliver. This is the great love of the devotees of the Lord, whose example I'm trying to follow in their footsteps. Mother Tasha and so many great saintly masters and devotees, they constantly traveled so that they can share knowledge with as many people as they could. This is the great love. It's like you have a cure for a disease and everyone's suffering. Do you just, stay in your place, your hospital, and say, oh, come to me? The one with great love, puts the medicine in their bag and goes out and distributes it to all those in need. Goes to them. This is basically what devotees do. Except the medicine are the books, the knowledge. By the light of knowledge, the darkness of ignorance is dispelled. So that's why the devotees of God make their mission in life the giving of transcendental knowledge. And I'd like to share purport from Srila Prabhupada, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, who's a translator and commentary giver of the Srimad-Bhagavatam we're reading from today. And he says, the personality of Godhead is omnipresent by his diverse potencies everywhere, just as the power of electricity is distributed everywhere within space. Similarly, the Lord's omnipresence is perceived and manifested by his unalloyed devotees, like Vidura, whom this verse is being addressed to. Just as electricity is manifested in an electric bulb, a pure devotee, like Vidura, always feels the presence of the Lord everywhere. He sees everything in the potency of the Lord, and the Lord in everything. The holy places all over the earth are meant for purifying the polluted consciousness of the human being by an atmosphere surcharged with the presence of the Lord's unalloyed devotees. If anyone visits a holy place, he must search out the pure devotees residing in such holy places, take lessons from them, try to apply such instructions in practical life, and thus gradually prepare oneself for the ultimate salvation, going back to Godhead. To go to some holy place of pilgrimage does not mean only to take a bath in the Ganges or Yamuna, or to visit the temples situated in those places. One should also find representatives of Vidura, who have no desire in life save and except to serve the personality of Godhead. I got some hecklers here, some crows. A group of crows is called a murder, and they are murdering the vibe right now. Hey. Hope you all in Discord. It's filtered out for you. These crows are getting noisy all of a sudden. Anyways, so the personality of Godhead is always with such pure devotees because of their unalloyed service, which is without any tinge of fruitive action or utopian speculation. They are in the actual service of the Lord, specifically by the process of hearing and chanting. The pure devotees hear from the authorities and chant, sing, and write of the glories of the Lord. For example, Mahamuni Vyasadeva heard from Narada, and then he chanted in writing. Shukadev Goswami heard from his father, Vyasadeva, and he described it to Maharaj Parikshit. And that is the way of the Srimad-Bhagavatam, how it comes down in this disciplic succession. So by their actions, the pure devotees of the Lord can render any place into a place of pilgrimage. And the holy places are worth their name only on their account. Such pure devotees are able to rectify the polluted atmosphere of any place. And what to speak of a holy place rendered unholy by the questionable actions of interested persons who try to adopt a professional life at the cost of the reputation of a holy place. What he's commenting on here is that, yes, you go to these holy places and, it's kind of a circus, many of them. People make a business out of religion. People exploit the gullibility of travelers and pilgrims. In fact, a lot of holy places are actually quite energetically very polluted. Not good association so much at all from all the dirty consciousness, people coming to unload their dirt so that they can be purified, and all the people doing mundane materialistic things there. But when a great pure devotee of God visits these holy places, just by their presence, it's like they're rejuvenating, refreshing the whole atmosphere. This is a special quality of these pure devotees of the Lord, whose hearts are so pure that they are directly perceiving the Lord in their heart always, and perceiving God everywhere in all things, and are ever engaged in His service. So that is why to become a servant of the servants of God, although from an outside or materialistic perspective that sounds like a very low position, it's actually the most wonderful position to be in. To receive the mercy, the blessings, the instructions of these great souls whom the Lord is ever residing in their heart. These great souls who can impart real knowledge can take on the sins of the world. Well, I should say, the worldly sins of their disciples. There ain't no greater blessing. And the Lord is actually very, very pleased when you can render service to His servants, those who are directly engaged purely in His service, as I said, untinged by any material desires. So that's today's sharing in our series of hearing from the various scriptures, verses Mother Tasha touched upon in her classes with us. So I'll stop there. Let me pause it there. Okay. Does anyone happen to have any questions or comments?
I just wanted to say that I'm really grateful through these classes. I'm getting to know more about different scriptures shares different teachings and getting more knowledge. I really appreciate it.
Okay, most welcome. We're learning together. As much as you're benefited, I'm probably even benefited more in being able to share. Spiritual knowledge is only realized in the giving, and I'm just trying to share what has already been given before, the best to my ability. And I'm hearing these teachings, this knowledge, right along with you. So, God help us both in living out these teachings and coming to love. Short and sweet today. Well, if there's no further comments or questions, I suppose we can just end there early. I think as we're getting more into summer, I think our brother Meet's getting caught up with a lot of activities, and Aaron having trouble with the time difference. So, anything anyone would like to share? My wife or Yeti?
Yeah, it's you can't learn anything without hearing. You can't do it on your own. That's for sure.
Yeah. That's the humility. That's the surrendering process, the faith part. In the beginning of spiritual life, we have to come to humility and surrender. Our minds have all these ideas in our heads, and we're very much attached to our own opinions and theories about what's what life's about. But when we're ready to know really what's what, and come to understand that we're really just full of beans, and we're ready to surrender unto a higher power, really surrender to something greater than ourselves, surrender to God. God makes a meeting with one who can impart real knowledge. Hopefully we're ready to hear. I would be not nearly as happy in my life today, nor feeling so fulfilled, nor would I have such purpose as I have now, if it weren't for the merciful instructions of my spiritual master. I'm so eternally grateful for all the instructions and knowledge she gave me, and relieved that I had the good sense to listen to what she said, despite being so, arrogant and hot-headed and rebellious. At least I had the good sense that I understood she was my true well-wisher, and that everything she shared with me was the truth. And I needed only to accept what she taught as the truth and apply it in my life. And this takes faith. And you have to have the proper teacher, of course. There's many misleaders, misteachers out there who you can't just take every single thing they say at face value as bona fide truth. You have to question, the sources. But when you find the real deal, the real devotee of God, if you're lucky enough, blessed enough, and you see that they have all the proper qualifications, coming in disciplic succession, teaching only the message of God without change or alteration, and living the message they speak, and not seeking any material reward or benefit or payment for anything that they do. And you see their life, their actions, is all in transcendental service. be very blessed to be able to receive knowledge from such a one. And I had the good sense not to challenge whatever Mother Atasha taught me. I would ask questions if I didn't understand, of course, but I wouldn't challenge it because I knew that the source was pure. And if I didn't quite get it or grasp it at the time, that was a me problem. That wasn't a fault of my teacher or the teaching. It is something I needed to work on. And that is the proper mood of a devotee, of submissive hearing. We got to hear submissively from the proper source and accept it as truth. And some people might say, oh, you're being a blind follower. Well, not at all. Did you catch the part where I said, did the research and find out who first is the bona fide source of knowledge? Once you find the bona fide source of knowledge, the actual real devotee of the Lord, then you can accept everything they say as truth and put it into practice, and you will come to the realizations of such knowledge yourself. You will experience love of God in your heart just as they live out. It's okay, I'll talk about him. The reason I'm late today for starting the class is a friend of mine was having a very, very difficult time. And I came by to, just be a friend, to share knowledge, just to be there for him. And he's at a low point in his life where he really has no more pride, no more false prestige, not at all. Right? And he wants his worldview to be shattered. All of his misconceptions, all of his illusions, his false theories that have only brought him great suffering, he wants those things to be completely shattered by someone to tell him the truth. And I didn't come to convince him of anything. Because, you can't, really. You can't convince someone of what is true. You can't turn someone into a devotee of the Lord. No, you can't. As I mentioned, Mother Tasha's notes, it's by God's grace that we come closer to God, to the spiritual. And he said, oh, sorry, I feel you wasted your time. I said, no. If I was seeking a result to my work, then yes. See, the thing with devotion is that we act without fruitive propensity. We act not to seek a result of our work, but we offer all the results to God. So whatever comes of our work belongs to the Lord, not us. I told him that. So I said that, my job is to show up and to share and to love and to practice myself. That's my job. My job isn't to convince him or to change somebody. My job is to change myself. And he kept asking questions, and I would give him an answer. And he kept repeating the same question, saying I never gave him the answer. But the thing is, actually, I gave him the answer multiple times. But he didn't hear it. The spiritual knowledge is not heard with the ears, but with the heart. And we can be so attached to our thoughts, so attached to our body, so attached to the concept we are the body, so attached to our own illusions. All the paradigms we create in our own mind of what's what about life, we're so attached to them that we don't want to hear the truth. We don't actually, even though he says he wants to shatter his illusions, he's too attached to them. So much so that no matter how many answers I could have given, none of it was getting through. Which is all right. I wasn't expecting much. I just wanted to be there for a friend in need, is all. Of course, I had hope, had desire that he become free from suffering, that his heart comes to peace, that he experiences love and truth, and what a miracle, it becomes a devotee, chanting the holy names. My goodness, make life perfect. Yeah, that's the hopes, that's the intention, that's the love. But if he does or does not hear, that's up to God, not me. So we have to be ready to hear. Maybe he's not ready yet. That's fine. The devotees always keeps the door open to anybody who wants to hear. We don't close the door. We go out. We share in love. But you're right, Yeti. We need help. If we're left to our own devices, thinking we can figure things out on our own, which many do, many have this notion that by my own intelligence, by my own brain power, I can figure all this out. We've come across many such types here on the server, like that. And they all share one thing in common, is they can't hear, and they don't want to accept the knowledge coming from the bona fide sources. Here's the evidence. Here's the scriptural reference. Here's the teachings from the spiritual masters also corroborating it. The lives of the saints also corroborating all this knowledge. It's backed up. It's bona fide, legit, credible, verifiable. But because it doesn't fit with their understanding, what they think is what, it's rejected. And c'est la vie. This is the reality of this world. This is how powerful the illusion is. Trying to explain to a frog in the well the great vastness of the Atlantic Ocean, when all he knows is a little pool of water in the bottom of his well. It's beyond the mind. It doesn't fit with his understanding of the world. Therefore, it's rejected. It's by the great mercy of God that our pride gets brought so low. It's by the mercy of God that in our great suffering, we let go of our attached feelings to our own notions in life and surrender unto the Lord. Please tell me what's really what. When we're done trying to do this on our own. And then life becomes so much more joyful. And you realize God was always there, always ready with a hand outstretched, just waiting for us to reach out to Him. My friend said, we have all this stuff we need to figure out. And I said, well, no. We actually don't have to figure it out. It's already figured out. The knowledge is already there. We just look in the right sources, look in the right direction, and then accept that knowledge. Practice it. So greater than faith, of course, is truth. So in the beginning you have faith, but the truth comes in you applying that knowledge, and then you get the experience yourself and you realize the truth. So you don't just take everything at face value. No, the devotees put it into practice. And for one who does so purely, they do get the results. They do get the experience, I should say, which is already there, and all that knowledge is already in the heart. It's just covered. So really it's just purifying everything blocking you from that experience that you seek. So I'll continue to pray for my friend. And if I have the ability and the facility, I'll show up if he really needs, as we all need help. So, but it's all in God's hands. Wow. I'm right under a flight path, I realized. Wow. God's arrangement or my foolishness picking this spot. So, I'm sure it's the latter. So, anywho, thanks for sharing, brother. Thanks for sharing, my dear wife. Anything last anybody want to talk about, discuss, ask, comment, anything?
No, I'm fine, mate. Myself.
Cool. All right, then. We'll end it there. So, All glories to Mother Natasha, all glories to the religion of love, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to our Supreme Lord. Jai.
Thank you very much.